Cougars. Good to see you again. We're going to start a new unit on strings, and I am standing here with one of the most beautiful instruments ever created in the history of instruments. It's a harp. This one has 31 strings, and harps were actually invented about 5,000 years ago. That's pretty incredible. They were first known about in the ancient kingdom of Egypt, and then they moved to Greece. Now, the first harps didn't look anything like this. They actually looked like this. This is called a lyre. L-Y-R-E, not the kind when you don't tell the truth. And here is a picture of a Grecian woman playing an early type of harp, the lyre. Now, obviously, if this is a member of the string family, it has to have strings. And if you look carefully at it, the other component that creates a harp is, that's right, wood. So now, if you will take a look at our worksheet for today, we're going to start with the chart at the bottom. So forget about this part, and we'll do the chart at the bottom. You need your pencil. I'm going to use a marker because it will show up better and you'll be able to see the words more clearly. Okay, now we're comparing how to make notes higher, this side, or lower on the harp. Now there are 3 ways that you can accomplish this. And I love to use the harp for this process because it actually uses all 3 ways. So the first one says, if you want the strings to create a higher sound on the harp, the strings are, look at the high strings, listen as I play them. Versus listen to the low strings as I play them. Can you see the size difference in these strings? Here's the higher, here's the lower. Absolutely, the higher strings, our first column, are shorter. If you thought shorter, give yourself a bonus point. We're going to say that they are shorter. And so with your pencil, you're going to fill that in on your chart. The string gets shorter. So your chart should look like mine. S-H-O-R-T-E-R. And now the opposite of shorter is, of course, longer. So we're going to write that one down right across from it, where we have the lower ways to make the strings sound. Longer. L-O-N-G-E-R. Now, the next 2 are a little harder to figure out. You'll need to be really good scientists and look very carefully. If you look at the longer strings on the harp, the lower strings, you can see that they're very different from the higher strings of the harp. All right, I'll do the lower ones again. Can you see them vibrate easily? Can you see them moving? Yes, it's pretty easy, okay? One more time. But if you move up to these high strings, take a look. Take a look. Can you easily see them move? Watch again. They hardly move at all, don't they? They almost don't vibrate. Why do you think the low strings are so easy to see and the top strings, the high strings, are so difficult to see? Well, think of a rubber band. The tighter you stretch it, the less it moves. So the low strings have to be much looser because you can see them wiggle and move. The top strings, the high strings though, they are pulled so tight that you can barely see them move. So on our chart, underneath the word shorter, right here in this box, we're going to write the word tighter. T-I-G-H-T-E-R. One more time. T-I-G-H-T-E-R. And the opposite of tighter starts with an L. I hope you said looser, because that's exactly what it is. L-O-O-S-E-R. Looser. All right. You're being very good musical scientists today. Good job. The last difference in the strings. Now I should explain, you've probably already figured out that there are different colored strings on the harp. There are red strings. And the color has nothing to do with how the string sounds. There are also blue or black strings. The reason that those strings are colored is so the harp player, like me, doesn't get lost. Each string has a name: C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Each string has a specific name, and we recycle D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and all the way up. The top string on this harp happens to be an E. But if you look carefully at this longest string, at this C string, if I rub my finger down it, it's actually wrapped. It's actually wrapped with a very thin wire. And the reason we wrap it is to make it thicker. But if you look at the C string at the top of the harp, take a look up here. I'll put my finger behind it. Look at that string. It's not wrapped at all. So what would you say the opposite of thicker is? It's actually a word that starts with TH. So we're looking for the word thinner. And that's the other way you change the sound of the strings. Thin, high, thick, low. And we're going to finish our instrument chart and write that down. So, in the last box, under shorter, tighter, we're going to write thinner. There are two N's in thinner. T-H-I-N-N-E-R, thinner. The thinner the string, the higher the note. And the opposite of thinner, like our wrapped C string over here, is thicker. T-H-I-C-K-E-R. I'll spell that one more time. T-H-I-C-K-E-R. So these are all the ways that you can change the sound of a stringed instrument. Now, if we can move up to the top to question number 1, sentence number 1, it says, instruments in this family are made of, you already know how to answer that. They're made of, and, that's right, strings and wood. Now, please skip number 2. We're going to do that next week together. We're going to move to sentence number 3. Make sure you're looking at number 3. When you play a string instrument, the strings blank. Now again, I don't want a fancy science word. I want you to pretend that you're talking to a 2-year-old. So when you play the strings, what do? Starts with an M, ends with an E. I hope you said move, because that's our word. Number 3, move. When you play a stringed instrument, the strings move. And finally, our last worksheet question for today, we'll finish it next week. Look at number 4. This is where you really get to prove that you are a musical sound genius, because it says this movement is called, and here's a hint, starts with this letter. Exactly, vibration. V-I-B-R-A-T-I-O-N. I will spell that again. V-I-B-R-A-T-I-O-N. Vibration. Now, make sure that you keep this somewhere, because we're going to need it again for next week's lesson. But today, we're going to finish up by going over our string family wrap. So, if you would please be my echo and copy me, here we go. String instruments you strum, pluck, or bow. String instruments you strum, pluck, or bow. Don't forget the harp, it's the biggest you know. Don't forget the harp, it's the biggest you know. Violin, viola, cello, and bass. Violin, viola, cello, and bass. Have 4 strings each, played with vigor and grace. Have 4 strings each, played with vigor and grace. Vigor is a word that means strength. So you have to be strong to play these instruments, but you also have to be graceful. Let's do that one more time. Be my echo. Here we go. My turn. String instruments you strum, pluck, or bow. String instruments you strum, pluck, or bow. Don't forget the harp, it's the biggest you know. Don't forget the harp, it's the biggest you know. Violin, viola, cello, and bass. Violin, viola, cello, and bass. Have 4 strings each, played with vigor and grace. Have 4 strings each, played with vigor and grace. Good job. Next week, boys and girls, we will put that to our music. Before we go, I hope that you have enjoyed learning a little bit. A little bit about this beautiful 5,000-year-old instrument called the harp. I'll see you next time. Have a magical musical day. Stay safe, everybody.